So I have, it's, something that I'll never forget as far as that experience was concerned. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how you cannot judge people by, you never can judge a book by its cover. It's, those guys were so passionate, and so no matter what anybody thought about him, no matter if this man murdered the people who had murdered his family. But he was just the kindest, most gentle man. Mm. So you never know. Again, that's where the acting comes in, with where you can see the other sides of people and have empathy for what other people are going through in their lives. And that's, so anyway, so that's about that.
Wow. And another project you're writing a script for is called Be Not Afraid. What is that all about?
Well, there's a wonderful author, and he only has 2 books. He just came out with his second book a few months ago, but his name is Bob Goff, Goff, and he writes these incredible books. By the time you finish them, you feel like you could just conquer the world. He's an incredible man, and I don't want to say that I've met him or anything like that, and he changed my world and all that stuff, but he gave me the inspiration to do his story. So kind of backtrack, and I read the story, and I read one of his pages. He he's no longer, I think he still teaches, but he was a lawyer. And he now teaches at Pepperdine University in California. And what he did was, during his time off from teaching, he would go to Uganda, and he would open schools for children over there who had no formal education, just to help the children over there. So one day he's sitting around talking to the president of Uganda, and they're having this conversation, and the president of Uganda tells him that an epidemic is happening in Uganda, and what is happening, and this has been going on for about 10 years now, is that, witch doctors are very prevalent in Uganda. I did not know this. This is brand new information to me. So what Bob Goff found out about these witch doctors is what they do is they actually abduct children, anywhere from 3 years old to 13 or 14, girls and boys. They abduct these children and then sacrifice them for the purpose of saying that this is really deep, heavy stuff. So I don't want to gross any of your audience members out, so I'll try to keep it as light as I can. But what they do is they sacrifice these children in Uganda itself. It's a booming metropolis right now in Uganda. Everything is, the population is increasing. They're trying to become more, what's the word? The buildings are coming up everywhere. They're trying to modernize, I guess, is what they're trying to do, modernize Uganda. So there will be people that come in from the United States, from Australia, from all these other places will come in, and they'll build their businesses there in Uganda. Well, these witch doctors will actually get a hold of them and say, in order for your company to be more profitable, you need to sacrifice a child. And the child will either be embedded into the foundation of the building, or their blood will be taken and spread around on the foundation. Anyway, so to get all past that, what they're doing, and people are agreeing to this. This is what, yes,
Who does that?
Exactly, yes. And so it's an epidemic now where these children are disappearing because of these witch doctors. And these witch doctors get paid very handsomely for it. We're talking $200,000-$300,000 for these children. So when I first read this, I'm like, my mouth is dropping on the book. And I'm like, this cannot be happening. And I keep reading in his book. Bob Goff is on this quest to find a child that has survived one of these attacks. And he finds one.
Really?
Yeah, he finds one, and he can point out who the witch doctor is. And it just so happens that it's the witch doctor who is very prominent in this part of Uganda. He's like the head witch doctor. And so Bob Goff brings him to trial, gets him convicted, and now he's in prison. They didn't give him a death sentence or anything, but he's in prison now for life. So it became one of Bob Goff's passion now is to save and get these guys to trial, as many as he can, because you have to understand these people. They have their whole lives for generations have been centered around these witch doctors. I mean, they're known as prevalent healers. You know, they heal people and they bring communities together. But it's just for the fact that because socioeconomically everybody is so poor that when they saw this money started coming in to doing these sort of rituals, that they just lost their brains. I mean, so again, it's on an epidemic level. So as I'm reading all this, and I've been a playwright, not a playwright, but a screenplay writer now for about 6 years, I thought, this is an incredible story, and I've got to write a screenplay about it. I want to get this man's story out there. Well, there was one other man that was involved with Bob Goff, and he is a pastor in Uganda. His name is Robert, and don't even ask me to say his last name, because there's no way. It's like 15 letters long. Anyway, so what he does is when these children that survive, it's very sad because the ones that survive, their parents think that they have like some mystical spell over them now, and a lot of parents will not have anything to do with the kids after that. So this man takes these children into his home. It's a ministry that he has, and he from then on takes care of these children, and he clothes them, feeds them, houses them, and the majority of them are basically disabled for life. They either can no longer walk or talk, or because of what's happened to them. So I was even more intrigued by him for the simple fact that he has given his life and devoted it to taking care of these kids. So what I did was I got a hold of Bob Goff's. I did not talk to Bob Goff. I talked to his assistant. And we talked quite a while. And there's a couple other things that I did with his book that's not even involved in acting. That's really cool. But anyway, I talked to his assistant, and he said, unfortunately, I can't give you the rights to the story. He said he's under trademark, and he was under all kinds of stuff. But he said, I would love to read the screenplay once you finish it. He said, I would love to see the movie because I think this is going to make a huge impact. So he said, but what you can do is you can contact Robert, blah, 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 and talk to him. Pastor Robert, there you go. So I did. So I got a hold of his company. His organization is called Children's Ministries, and he has a documentary on him too. But anyway, I looked him up, got a hold of him, and the day I got a hold of him, he was actually in the United States. Okay. And we talked a long time, probably about an hour and a half. The nicest, sweetest man. Oh my God, he had a smile that was just ear to ear, and he loved the idea. And he loved the idea not centered on him by any stretch of the imagination. He said, but if you can take one of my kids' story and put it into a film, a movie, into a screenplay, and show people the resilience of these children, he said that would be incredible. So he already gave me a couple of the kids there and what they've been through, and their stories are so unbelievable. So I didn't get Bob Goff, even though his books are incredible, but I did get, cute puppy. So now I got Robert instead. So I've written probably act one of that screenplay. I have not finished it yet. We're actually getting together at the end of this month. He's in the process of opening another school, but we're going to get together end of this month, and go over everything as far as act one is concerned. And he's also wanting to do a stage play that he wants me to direct. He has a group in Australia that an organization that donates a lot of money to his program, and we're getting together with them and doing a stage production with the kids that are in his school to help raise money for his organization. So I'm excited about that too. So
is the movie documentary or like
no. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it yeah.
Very good.
It'll just be based on true story, true facts.
Nice. So. All right. So we go from heavy stuff to a little lighter fare now with the short film Caroline. How did that project come about? And who else was involved with this movie?
I was just laughing because I was thinking, so we're getting off the heavy stuff, and the story is actually like a heavy story too.
Oh, okay.
But it all ends up good. This was a true labor of love. If you've ever done a short or have known anybody involved, yes.
I have.
All of us actors have, which I think are great opportunities to go on to bigger things. But my daughter, as I was talking about her earlier a little bit, she is a producer in LA. And her and I work together on a lot of projects. A lot of times she'll call me and she'll say, hey, can you do some research for blah, blah, blah. Like she's doing a documentary on guns, and I'm doing a lot of research on guns and how they are all over the country and that aspect. So anyway, she calls and she says, hey, a friend of mine, it's a husband and wife team, and I'll even say their names because they're wonderful people. It's Celine and Logan are both of their names. Anyway, she is the writer, Celine's a writer, and Logan is a director. But they usually co-direct their projects. Mm. So they hired my daughter, Kara, and her soon-to-be husband, who is a cinematographer, to do the short with them. So that's when Kara called me and she said, hey, we are actually shooting this short in Houston. Now, they were all in L.A. Well, Celine and Logan are in New York, and then Kara's in L.A., and they were all decided to meet here in Texas. So, and the reason they decided on Texas was because of us, because they could use a lot of family. It was just to save costs on money. I mean, they had a budget of, some people think that may be a lot, but they had a budget, I think, $25,000. So I got everything, I helped Kara get everything set up in Houston and get the people together. Kara called a lot of family members and her friends, and the script revolves around a mother who, and it sounds kind of trivial, but it's extremely deep to especially mothers who have gone through this and how it is in our society. A mother has to go to a job interview, and her babysitter has not showed up. So she takes the three kids that she has, she takes them with her to the interview, and her babysitter says or tells her on the phone, hey, I'll be there as quick as I can to get the kids. So she's in the parking lot. It's like past time for her to go for this interview. So she tells the kids, hey, I'm going to leave you here in the car. Now this is in Houston heat in the summer, and we actually shot it in the middle of the summer. And in this parking lot, it was 102 that day. Mm-hmm. Now, on the backstory here, those kids, we had the car was air conditioned the whole time. There was anything as far as the kids were concerned. But anyway, and this was based on a true story. So she ends up leaving the car running with the oldest that knows not to touch anything, and she runs in for the interview. Well, of course, the lady gets out of her car, sees the kids in the car, starts freaking out, calls the police, and then the woman, the mother, ends up coming out of the interview, and then a fight pursues, and they get in this huge fight, and that's how it ends up. So basically the story, it was a social issue story based around how single moms, how difficult it is for them to go get jobs with children, depending on somebody on the outside coming in and taking care of their children and all that sort of stuff. And it was actually taken from a social media story that showed up on Yahoo one day. And Celine read it and saw it and decided to write the story about it. So anyway, we shot it. Took 3 days to shoot, and it was really funny. My husband decided to help too, and my daughter knows how much my husband loves food, so she said, hey, you can do craft service. So my husband being a Texan, and here all the crew is from like LA, so my husband is fixing them like grilled cheese sandwiches and steaks and roast beef. And so, of course, everybody's like, we have never